Today's video, we're going to talk about how the seasons affect your PPC ad results massively on Google, on Facebook. And here's specifically how to predict what you could expect out of your ad campaign for each month of the year. January, February, March, and how to actually deal with these changes as well as predict what's going to happen in the future. There are key months for different business types that's going to be the best of the best and the worst of the worst. And I'm going to give you what those are for B2B businesses versus home services, home improvement businesses, consumer businesses, and so forth, where I go through, where I've taken the data from our clients' ad accounts and averaged it out to tell you what you should expect on an overall basis for your type of business on where the times are good versus where times are bad. So you can predict what's normal for the time of year and know how to prepare for it. And actually when to be dumping more money into your ads and dumping less into them if you want to have the best return out of the year. And of course, there's a way to predict what is going to happen to your business ahead of time using data that I'm going to go over in this video as well. So you kind of know going into the next March, April, May, what to expect from your ad campaigns, which will affect your profitability because once you know what to spend in March versus February versus January, as you're going into the next 12 months with your business, you can optimize the amount of money you're going to make from your ad spend, given that you should have a different budget for each month of the year based upon what you know and expect to happen for each month of the year as well. Even if you haven't advertised before in your space, I'm still going to tell you a way to predict all this so you can optimize your budget for the year and get the results that you want, given that you're just simply not going to get a result that you want in one time of the year and get a massive result in another time of the year. You can time where you're spending your money and get a lot more money out of your ad budget. We're talking twice as much just by understanding what to spend and when to spend it during the year. To start with, I'm going to go through what normally happens for B2B businesses or when you're selling to businesses itself, not consumers, whether that be a B2B service like you're doing corporate law for doing legal matters for lawyers or helping people file patents, or whether you're doing product design services for businesses, whatever. Or if you're talking about selling product to businesses, if you're selling church pews to churches or school supplies like desks and so forth to schools, doesn't matter. Any business like this, what you're going to basically see is during March through mid-June of every year and late September to November of every year, those are your prime buying seasons. This is where customers are going to be good and better than other times of the year by far. You're going to have a better ROI from the ad spend you have during these months of every year, and you're going to get more actual potential out of them. That is, more people are searching, and you're going to get more sales from those times of the year, advertising during those times of the year. They're searching more during these times, and they're apt to make a decision at a higher rate. That is, the leads will close at a higher rate during those times of the year. You want to spend as much as of your yearly budget during those exact times of the year than any other place. And for that matter, when you're not in those times of the year, you should recognize that it's not that your ads are broken. It's just not easy or as easy to get results during those times of the year as it is in these times. So you can decide to maybe not even advertise much during months outside of the window of time that I mentioned, or you can just recognize that it's not going to provide the same return. You're going to get twice the return during those months versus other times. And to be specific about it, what I did was I took 10 clients in the B2B space and I averaged out what it is the ROAS difference is during those exact months or times of the year versus the other opposite ends of the year, as well as the number of conversions difference we got for those businesses. 175% average ROAS increase during those exact months of the year versus 120% conversions during those months of the year versus other months of the year. I averaged this out to the closest ending digit of 5, by the way. With this, it's crazy just how correlated or consistent the results were from B2B business to B2B business, to the point where I was confident in making this video and telling you that you're going to receive pretty much this kind of a boost in performance during these times of the year. March to mid-June, and then late September through November. Why do people buy during these times more so? It's very simple. These are the times of the year that they're not on vacation because it's summertime. It's also times of the year where it's not holidays or near it, where people are distracted. It's also, once you hit December, all the way to February, people are distracted majorly because of all the stuff that's going on that time of year. Not to mention, at least in the parts of the world where there are 4 seasons, you also got people are typically apt to want to make decisions for their business and investing in their business when it's crappy weather outside. Not, which applies to the wintertime too, but they're distracted in the winter because of the holiday stuff that's going on. So the best time where they're not distracted with anything else and they can't really do much because it's not warm out yet, this spring and fall basically, those are the times where they're making the decision at the highest rate. Beyond that, if you're looking at though on the opposite of things, specifically with August and December is absolutely horrid for B2B sales and marketing online. If you can stand it, literally spend 10% of the budget you would have normally in March during August and December. It's absolutely horrible to get results during those times, of which you're going to receive roughly a 55% reduction in ROAS to average. So in other words, if you're normally getting a 300% ROAS on your campaign overall, you could expect to take that times 0.45. That should give you what you should expect as far as a ROAS during August and December. Beyond that, the conversions itself should be negative 65%. Negative 65% adjustment there in terms of a reduction in volumes of conversions as well. You're going to get a lot fewer conversions, and each conversion you do get, it's going to close at a lower rate on top of it. Roughly the same. The ROAS will be as bad as is the number of conversions you get goes down. Because if they are still responding in December and August, they're fairly motivated itself. You're still going to, technically you can make money from them. You're just going to get a lot less of them, even though the ROAS is not as good during those prime months. So that's B2B. Home services and home improvement going into this next. In this type of business, whether you're selling pest control services, foundation repair services, stuff like this, or you're selling house paint, you're selling furniture, anything like this, your March through May of every year in the springtime, where people typically do spring cleaning and spring renovation, that's your prime season for these type of businesses. How much more increase in ROAS and conversions will you get in these type of business during these months? From my research here, on our clients at least, we're getting an average of 35% increase in ROAS during those months and an average of 110% increase in conversions. So the volume of increase of conversions is massive during this time of the year. This is your prime season. I got a lot of clients where we get great results in the spring that start in the spring, and then they're like, what happened, Corey? Where's our conversions in June? And the reality is there's just certain times of the year, you got to get it through your head, that they buy, and there's times that they don't really buy, and you cannot fight it. You can fight it by spending more per click and get a higher share of the clicks. If you're doing search ads, for instance, all you're going to do though is you're going to have a much lower ROAS because you're going to have to pay more to get. So whereas normally in June, ultimately, where you could easily have less than half of the conversions in June that you normally would have gotten in March, you can make up for that deficit by bidding more per click. You're just simply going to have a ROAS that's going to be roughly 75% worse than what it normally was in March. Is the reduction in ROAS that you're going to get going to make up for the increase in volume of conversions? Most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, the answer is going to be just simply accept the fact that you're not going to get as many conversions in June to keep your guys busy. You're just going to settle for what you can get. And that's what makes running a business in like some of these markets like this, it makes it difficult because you have to have staff. You got to staff up during the spring. What a lot of people will do is they'll come to me and say, hey, this is our non-busy time of the year. Let's spend more on ads. The cost per lead goes up so much. Then they're like, well, why is the cost per lead so high? Well, of course, if there's no customers and you want to bid more for those customers, get more of them, your ROI is going to go down. I don't care how good I am. If we're starting to pay 3 times as much for a click to get as many clicks as we would get during March and July, you're probably just not going to be profitable anymore. Depends on the market. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it's a hell of a lot more difficult to do that and make money that way than just naturally understanding bidding a reasonable amount per click for the actual clicks that are there for us to get. So, and then on the opposite side of things, you got December of every year for home services and home improvement, which is terrible. Reason being that not only do you have Christmas, but at least in northern climates, there's snow, you can't really do much in the house. And people aren't really planning anything in terms of renovating their house or fix it up in December anyway. But even in markets like Miami, where it's still kind of warm, for the most part, it's still crap. I purposely mixed in some southern states in the US in the data that we have when I came up with these numbers, but on average, our Decembers, you can automatically assume a 70% reduction in ROAS in the clicks and leads that you get, and 45% on average reduction in conversions during that same month of December for businesses in the home services space, in the home improvement space as well. That shows you just how much of a difference in results you have here. I'll tell you how to deal with this, and so you come out ahead for the year and for your business in general, and how to divvy up your budget in a minute. I do want to talk about the consumer goods side of business itself as well. When I say consumer goods, I mean literally like just basically e-commerce in general. As long as you're not selling to businesses, the product you're selling to individual consumers, that's where this falls here. And the consumer goods side, the niches out there, and these businesses, November and December, you are going to have massive increases in volume and ROI that you're going to get from each click. Why? Because leading up to Christmas, people have a certain amount of budget they got to spend no matter what, and therefore it's easier to get. In any business where people have a budget, it's much easier to make money because people are already committed to spending the money regardless. Versus if you're going to sell a new back scratcher, it's hard to sell it because people don't even think they need a back scratcher really. And they generally don't have back scratcher budgets. Versus if you are a travel company and somebody's got a budget for their vacation, it's easy to get them to spend money, or a wedding, or a funeral, or anything like this. In Christmas time, there's always a budget. You can be a florist, you've got a flower budget for Valentine's Day, or what have you. Then you just got to be the best option. Whereas in a lot of markets, like you're selling the back scratcher, even if they're typing in back scratcher on Google, 80% of those people ain't going to be buying a back scratcher. A lot of people get confused by this. Why would they search for one? Reality is people are finicky. They think they may want one, but in reality, they talk themselves out of it anyway, or at the last minute or otherwise. There's a lot of people who are just browsing, just like they go into a clothing store, they look around. Why do they look around with no intention of buying? Well, because it's fun. It's an aspirational thing. Why not? I mean, obviously, they may not be looking for trusses for houses for fun, but even then, half those people aren't going to be buying anything, even though they're searching for something that has utility. This is the time to load up your budget as much as you possibly can. You'll get an average of 65% higher ROAS in any clicks that you get, and an average of 145% conversions versus the average month itself. Now, by the way, you could actually get more than 145% increase in conversions if you were willing to take your ROAS down to what it normally was, the average month of the year outside of November, December, and take this up to 300% increase in conversions. That's up to you. Because you always obviously can play with volume of conversions versus ROAS, and those are directly correlated with one another. But that is what the average was on the 10 accounts that I pulled data from and averaged out, so you would have a general idea of what to expect in your consumer goods business on those 2 months of November and December. On the opposite side of things, funny enough, January and then the beginning of February, we'll say the first half, we're talking the opposite effect. Not only is there no budget for anything January and first half of February, people have blown all their money. People typically, and I know it just as a funny side story here, if at our PPC agency, if we've had, this doesn't really happen anymore, but back in the day, I've been doing this for over a decade, once in a while, when we would get chargebacks at our agency, people calling the credit card company up saying, I want my money back. This would always happen right before Christmas every year. Why? Because people feel pressure to have money at Christmas time for Christmas presents. They're not going to get by, in their mind, just saying they don't have money for a Christmas present. Nobody's going to believe them, or they're just going to hold it against them anyway, or think they're a chump or whatever. So what do? They're willing to screw over our company to get the money for something they were happy with before, and then just sprung this up on us out of nowhere in order to get money for Christmas presents because it matters that much to them. People will do anything to get the Christmas money, which is why it's so easy to sell to them because they're going to buy no matter what. It's really not up to them. In their mind, it's like they're going to die if they don't have Christmas present money, instead of telling their kids, like, this year we had to cut back or whatever. That said, the reason why I bring that story up is as soon as the season's over, potentially, whatever they had to borrow from Peter to pay Paul here, they racked up their credit card bill. They tried to get a refund for something, like tried to get a chargeback through us, and they didn't do anything wrong, and they signed a contract, and we wanted to hey, we delivered the damn guy services. Here's evidence. He was fine with it until months later, and then he filed a chargeback against us, and then it reverses on him or her. Basically, it's a him. Then they realize they didn't have that money back, and now they're on the hook for it, or whatever happens. They don't have money that they now have. So not only do they not have nothing to buy, but now they're sucking air they've levered themselves up, and they got to pay that back. The opposite effect happens. There's no money for nothing for at least the next 6 weeks after Christmas even is over. And technically, by the way, this starts late December. If you wanted to be more specific here, December 25th through February 15th, this is about what to expect. As soon as it's too late to order any Christmas presents anymore, that's when this effect kicks in. And you're going to get an average of a 40% reduction on your average conversion rate, or ROAS, and a 75% reduction in conversions during this specific time of the year for what reasons I just said. For the most part, the rest of the year is going to be more or less the same. Near Christmas, everything changes. What do you want to do with this information to actually turn it into more profit for your business? Well, I'm going to cover exactly what to do here. This gives you a basic idea of how much difference there is and how easy it is to get a return one time of the year versus the other. And obviously, you may say, well, I'm not a consumer goods business. I'm not a home-related business. I'm not a B2B business. In those markets, there's not nearly as much seasonality. There's seasonality in every business, don't get me wrong, but it might be plus or minus 20% throughout the year, and you really don't have to really plan around things too much. It's these three categories, technically four categories of businesses, where not planning for each season separately is suicide. Or at the very least, you're pissing away 2/3 of the profit you could be making. Whereas you could be levering up heavily during certain times of the year, and you pull up back heavily other times. That said, you don't ever want to shut off your ads during times of the year that's not as good. Because the ad algorithm, even if you're talking about Facebook, isn't going to take you as seriously when you only run your ads certain times of the year. What you do though is it's a question of how much do you spend that month? Oh, I should spend 80% less than I normally do this month. So the ads stay on, the ad platform still takes me seriously, and the ads are ready to go full blast when the prime season starts. That is something that you should do. You have that, and with that, also understanding that during the non-buying season, a lot of people are doing research that if you don't market to them then, also when there's less competition for the clicks, because your other businesses that you're competing against also don't want to advertise those times of the year. They don't want to advertise in December for a roofing company. You can get clicks cheaper than average. You can still get value out of it, at least if you understand that the people that are searching in December are going to buy in March for a roofing company. You're not going to see it in the conversion data directly. They're not even going to turn into a lead in December. If they're in December, they're sitting in their house or bored, starting to look at it, planning for March's purchase, and so there's value there. Whereas I would still spend 3 times as much in March as I do in December for that roofing company. I'm still going to advertise in December for the following reasons: that when March hits, I don't want my ads struggling to scale back up. But also, I can actually get a good deal on the clicks during those times of the year by scaling back my budget, telling people I'm willing to pay 70% less for a click. Because the clicks are worth less, but I'll still take them at a cheap rate. And I'll still get in front of most people, if not all the people that are doing research for a roof in December for a March purchase, and get most of the value there. So it's really just about optimizing, again, how much budget do I want to spend for each season, and more particularly, each month of the year, given that each has a little bit different potential. There's never no potential. It's just, you got to be smart about being surgical about where your budget is spent. Do you want to spend a lot or a little at January versus February versus March, using the data that you have, and then also using the techniques here that I'm talking about here in a second. I'll go through what those techniques are, but one thing that you should absolutely have done if you haven't already is subscribe to this channel, because I have the best information you're going to find online about how to run PPC ads, online ads on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on all the main platforms, because I've got 20 years experience doing this now, and I spend 40 hours a week just doing ad strategy at our firm, whereas I spend the weekends just making this channel to bring it to you. If you are serious about becoming a multi-millionaire running ads for your business, you want to subscribe to this channel because it's real raw data that you're going to get. Furthermore, I've got another great resource on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog with the step-by-step information on the strategies that I use to guarantee our clients' results at our firm. You can find it there. It's all my work in written form, so if you like the channel, you'll like the blog as well. Beyond that, if you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, leave me a comment or question below. You can find all the information that you want by asking me through the comment section. I get back to everybody who asks a question in the comment section to me there, as well as you can reach out to me through my Discord group. A link to that Discord, by the way, is in the video description. I also have my website. You can reach out to me through there. You can find me at guaranteedppc.com. I do coaching and consulting, as well as full-on ad management services, of which we're the only firm out there who offers a guarantee in that we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain level of profitability increase or results with their ad in general. So basically, if you're making $100K a month now, we'll promise to get you to 130 before the management fee starts. We do that. We also sell ad templates as well. If you are in a market that we've already gotten results in already, by the way, we can sell you the winning ads, landing pages, all of it that work for your market. You copy paste that into your ad account and get the same results we did in your market without having to spend all the time and money that we did to figure out how to get results in your market. I've got 100 literal templates in hundreds of niche markets. So you at least should reach out to us and find out what results we got in your market already, because you could save yourself a ton of time, a ton of money just using the template outright. For that matter, here's how to deal with the fact that sometimes in the year, if you just treat those times of the year like any other, you're going to get creamed and you're going to actually go into negative ROI territory. Number one, you create a 3-year chart by month. You get a spreadsheet, Google Sheet, whatever, and you go back and you write down your sales by month going back 3 full years. If you don't have your ad results, you just use your overall company results by month, so you can literally see the trends for every January, what you normally get in January versus what you normally get in February, and so forth. That way, you can see at a glance here when the sales typically come in. Then, for the next 12 months, you say, okay, normally we'd spend 10 grand a month on our ads, so that's what we have budgeted for, or 120 grand for the year. We want to optimize for the most we can get out of this 10 grand a month. So instead of just equally spending 10 grand a month for the whole year, we're going to decide if we're going to spend more or less than 10 grand for every individual month, month by month. You simply are going to look at, if you've already been advertising, what ratio of sales to ad spend you got each month going back the previous years, and then use that ratio to determine whether your budget should be more or less than the ad budget you have been spending already. You're spending more in the months where it's easier to get a return. That's the only thing that makes natural sense here. Some months you may be spending 4 grand, some you're going to be spending 19 grand. You should 100% do this, because this is going to make you a pile more money doing this than, literally there's markets where we're making 3 times as much money for the entire year optimizing the budget by month like this that I'm talking about. This happens the most in home services and home improvement, but certainly in B2B as a secondary, you usually make twice as much optimizing budget by month like that in season. And then our consumer goods, same thing, doubling your ad efficiency if you're in any one of these 3. And other markets, I would say you would at least get a 20, 30, 40, 50% increase in profitability from your overall year's ad spend, just optimizing for works for your market like this. The other thing you can do is you can use Google Keyword Planner to see what the trends are in your market, assuming you're a brand new business with no data, no internal data, no Google Ads data, no Facebook Ads data. Type in your keywords and they actually show you, there's a little chart next to each keyword that's like, shows you a little box next to the keyword cost per click estimate. And it'll be like this. And that'll tell you for every month, going back the last 12 months, what the average click volume has been. And from that, you can pretty much predict when you're trying to decide what your budget's going to be for the next 12 months, what you should do. And similar to that, you could use Google Trends to get some other secondary data to back that up. That's pretty much what you do and how you do it to decide what's going on. But for the most part, this kind of gives you a general eyeball of what to expect for the next 12 months as you first get started. You are totally going to ignore this once you have a full year's worth of data, because that full year's worth of data will be 10 times more valuable than what you're going to get through Google Keyword Planner and Google Trends once you actually have it. And then all subsequent years, it's just a matter of going back to the previous year. And then as you have gotten into it 3 years, going back to the previous 3 years, figure out what each month has kind of done for you in the past, and then setting your budget for the next year for that next month or months. For each month, you have a different budget because it has a different potential, and you'll make that extra 2 to 3x premium in your results from the yearly spend that you have to ultimately spend. A lot of guys also, they say, ultimately, I don't have spent. They can manage their money better when they spend a consistent amount per month every year. And you may think that or want to do that. For me, it makes absolutely stupid to plan your business out on a month-by-month basis. The real G's in business, if you will, they're able to plan an entire year in advance of what they're going to do with their marketing. This is how it's done on a bigger level, massive level. For bigger companies, that's how they got to be big. You got to be able to do this for yourself. You can't just say, well, the sales were good this month, so we have this much to spend next month. You're going to constantly probably spin your wheels doing things that way. You got to be able to be unemotional about your decisions and investment into marketing. It's got to be down to numbers, and you got to use the numbers you got to plan your ads, given that most of the results with ads, 80% of it, just simply comes down to acquisition of data and that what the data tells you to do more and less of in the future. And this is it's just massive part of what you're doing that's going to get you a lot more results in the future. So with that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.